Good morning. My name is Emma Bowd, and today I'm going to discuss the issue of vicarious and direct trauma exposure for counselling psychologists in the community mental health sector. Imagine this. You're a counselling psychologist in a public mental health setting. Your client is experiencing an acute psychotic episode. You're the first person on the scene, alone, tasked with keeping them safe and de-escalating the situation until emergency services arrive. Knowing that some first responders lack mental health training, you also carry the burden of ensuring your client is not further frightened during their crisis. At this moment, you are their lifeline. After the client is safely scheduled, but against their will, you feel the weight of the situation. Your caseload looms large. Your next client is waiting and your co-workers are already at their limit. There is no time to debrief or process what has happened. This is the reality for many professionals in our field. Vicarious trauma doesn't just affect emotions, it physically impacts the brain. The somatosensory cortex, which processes bodily sensations, becomes overactivated when we internalize others' traumas or experience our own. This prolonged activation keeps us in fight or flight mode, resulting in chronic stress and emotional burnout. This neurological response explains why vicarious trauma and direct trauma feels so overwhelming. It's a full body experience, not just a mental one. For psychologists in the community mental health sector, the exposure to trauma is compounded by their high caseloads, daily crisis management, exposure to harsh client conditions such as poverty, and the fact that they are often working one-on-one. Research shows these factors increase the likelihood of PTSD, increase distress, and increase emotional exhaustion. And 60% of psychologists say they have no room for new clients due to emotional burnout. While awareness of vicarious trauma is important, training alone is insufficient. Professionals may recognize the signs of trauma, but without integrated practices, knowledge doesn't translate into resilience. Despite trauma-focused training, many clinicians still experience vicarious trauma, PTSD, and emotional burnout. The missing piece lies in addressing neurobiology by repeatedly practicing somatic therapy to calm our nervous system, and by harnessing the power of social connection and its ability to buffer stress. For these psychologists, isolation is a significant challenge as they're working often one-on-one with clients in their homes or in the community, in crisis situations, and this leaves little opportunity for debriefing. Therefore, peer support networks are essential for reducing isolation, fostering connection, and increasing the likelihood of help seeking in professionals. Research shows that regular somatic practices regulate the nervous system, shifting us out of fight or flight. Practices like breathing exercises, body scans, and mindful journaling help build resilience and reduce our overactive nervous systems. Reflective writing is especially powerful for processing trauma. Penny Baker and Smith found that journaling reduces stress and enhances emotional clarity. When debriefing isn't possible, writing can act as a valuable substitute. So I want to introduce a model called the Virtual Reflective Practice Hub, the VRPH. Stigma prevents many professionals from seeking help, as expressing emotions is often seen as a sign of inadequacy. Whereas in reality, expressing these emotions and processing these traumas is a healthy coping strategy. The Virtual Reflective Practice Hub challenges this myth. It normalizes help seeking and integrates peer support, reflective writing, and somatic therapy into practitioners' routines. It has a flexible design. It can inform the structure of team meetings, for example. It could be rolled out as a virtual app, or the concepts can be integrated into psychologists' daily work schedules or work calendars. As long as it includes these three components: guided somatic practices, reflective writing prompts, and peer support networks. We know that regular practice of somatic exercises, regular expressive writing and reflective writing, regular discussions with co-workers, peer support, social connection, builds resilience, reduces stress, and enhances practitioners' reflective practice skills. It empowers practitioners while also improving outcomes for clients. Integrating the VRPH into psychologists' work day normalizes help seeking. The reflective writing prompts will prompt psychologists to think about their emotional responses, think about how something has affected them, and prompt them to discuss this with a coworker within the network, or ask for some assistance. The flexibility of the model makes it particularly suited to community mental health. Its virtual format allows for remote access, while the structured practices ensure ethical and effective self-care during work hours. Because the model only requires those three key elements, like I said, it doesn't need to be a database or an app yet. It can be incorporated in how we conduct team meetings, or incorporated in what we do already with our work calendars and appointments, and the concepts can be embedded in the workday. Prompts can be created in the calendar by the team leader. Reflective practice prompts, somatic therapy exercise prompts, so that there's regular practice. We need regular practice of calming our nervous system so that when we need to draw on that, we already have that muscle memory. That's really important in order for practitioners to actually use these skills. The one element that becomes a little bit more complicated is the networking element, which probably will require some kind of online site, database, app system. The concept encourages regular practice of help seeking, so it becomes normal to seek help. Self-care is ethical practice. Vicarious trauma thrives in silence and isolation. So let's break the silence. Thanks for listening.